After 27 long years, the Women Reservation Bill is poised to become law. The Lok Sabha passed it near unanimously, and the Rajya Sabha will be voting on it shortly as well. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. As we look at this historic moment that is unfolding in Parliament, and even if the actual implementation of the quotas is not till at least 2026, there's no doubt that this is a historic moment. On the program today, we'll also be looking at the political impact, what this might mean for how politics will change, how tickets are distributed, how political strategy is planned, and also the credit game, the credit battle that has erupted in the aftermath of this bill being passed in the Lok Sabha. It is the Modi government's big move, but the opposition has also pretty much stayed united. The opposition had tough questions for the government on the floor of the House, but eventually went along with the government on the bill. Intriguingly, the Congress seemed to have altered its position. In 2010, Sonia Gandhi was against the sub-quota, the quota within a quota debate, but in her speech in the Lok Sabha, she endorsed that view. Nevertheless, as I said, the bill passed near unanimously, and now we're left to try and understand its implications, its ramifications, and its consequences, if any, for 2024. Let me introduce two very senior journalists on the program today as we look at this debate, the politics of it today through their eyes. Neerja Chowdhury and Saba Naqvi are with us. A pleasure to have both of you back with us. Neerja, when we first started talking about this earlier this week, you said if the Modi government manages to get this bill through, the credit will be theirs, the political benefit will be theirs. But since then, we know through the fine print that the actual implementation is going to be only after 2026, because delimitation and a fresh census has been tied into the sort of execution of this bill. Nevertheless, the government will go down in history as having steered the bill to its passage. How do you look at the politics of this moment, Neerja?
See, I think the passage of the bill brought by the Modi government is going to make some difference. You know, when we first discussed it on your program, you remember the day the cabinet was to meet, and we were also excited that this bill was now going to go through and women's reservation was going to become a reality. We felt in 2024. Now, as we study in detail the wording of the bill that is being linked to the next census and the delimitation exercise, it's very clear that while the intention and promise is there, it's going to become a reality only in 2029 if we are lucky. But if the delimitation exercise takes longer, which some people believe it may, then it could even spill into 2034. Now you can say, all right, in 10 years at least we will have reservation. At least it will not take another 27 years. Of course, the fact that this step has been taken finally, it is going to make a difference. And the reason why the BJP government has brought it about is to consolidate its following amongst women voters. Women have been Narendra Modi's vote base, but it would have been a very different story had the bill been implemented before the 2020.
Why do you think, from a political lens, why do you think they didn't do that? Because after all, the previous avatar of the bill, which was during the Congress, did not link it to delimitation. Politically, why do you think they've in some ways taken the approach of pass now, implement later?
You know, Barkha, that is the as they say, the $1,000,000 question. Why indeed? When they are moving in the direction, and I think the answer may lie in the kind of resistance there has been to the bill over the years. Whatever be the official version that the parties have taken, their official line, actually large sections within parties that have supported the bill ostensibly have been against it. And we know that. We've seen it over the last 27 years. And the reason I believe is not that they are anti-women per se, because many of these parties have facilitated pro-women bills in parliament. And parliamentarians have been part of that exercise. But they are very insecure with the fact that 1/3 seats will be reserved, and they don't know which constituency are going to be affected. Which 1/3 is going to go. So you may have a Baramati, which has been nurtured by Sharad Pawar for years and years and years. will, suppose it comes in this, if there was a drawing of lots, suppose it was to come in that, then that becomes a reserved constituency for women. Now, it's possible Supriya Sule would get that anyway, but I'm saying there is fear and insecurity and resistance and opposition, if you're really honest. And the government would be aware of this, that they will be resistant. So the question I want to ask is, linking it to the Delimitation Commission, does that mean that the government could consider adding 1/3 more seats, 181 more seats in the Lok Sabha, so that this pain is reduced?
Yeah. I think that's a very interesting thought, and this bill doesn't tell us the answer to that question. But Saba, first the political question that I asked Neerja, let me ask it to you. The fact is that this has been probably in the last few years the only moment we've seen parliamentarians coming together, other than the two members of parliament of the MIM, Asad Owaisi and Imtiaz Jalil. In the Lok Sabha, every single member of parliament voted with the government on this bill. They did not want the government to be able to say, you are against women's reservation. But the political question remains, is there going to be electoral credit taking in these elections? And what model might we see? Are we going to see a parliament that is going to be much bigger? Are we going to add seats so that there's no heartburn for men who have to give up seats?
So, Barkha, first of all, I'll just say one thing. Yesterday, I watched a lot of the debates, and I have to say it was exciting for me to see all those women. It was a goosebump moment. We've all witnessed it because we're very lucky as journalists. We witnessed democracy unfolding. It was very, very thrilling to see some of the women MPs' speeches. So there is that symbolic thing. Yet, today, I happen to sit with a lot of MPs, with guests around a particular MP. And apparently, after the speech yesterday, I don't think it got reported. But just to pick up on the point that Neerja made, that men would be afraid that their seats will go away. Apparently, Amit Shah jokingly said to people, I don't know if you guys have heard this, that some people said, why are you delaying it? Do it immediately. Afterwards, he said, what if I take away Wayanad and Hyderabad and give it to women?
I think he said it in Parliament. In fact, it was a joke he made in his speech in Parliament.
So
yes,
he said that apparently. I didn't watch his speech, but I watched a lot of the women's speeches because they were brisk, they were short to the point. And one has seen 3 speeches by Prime Minister Modi, and one it was becoming too much. But anyway,
actually, Saba, I'm told that we have a clip from that Amit Shah speech. So can we just listen in, and then you can complete your point? Do listen in, yeah.
ये जो कह रहे हैं क्यों नहीं कर देते, कौन करे? हम करें, और फिर वायनाड रिजर्व हो गया है तो आप क्या करोगे? हमको कहोगे कि भाई पॉलिटिकल कर दिया। ओवैसी साहब नहीं, अगर हैदराबाद रिजर्वेशन होगा, रिजर्व हो गया, तो कहोगे कि भाई पॉलिटिकल रिजर्वेशन कर दिया। इसलिए ये बहुत अच्छा है कि ये डिलिमिटेशन कमीशन जो क्वासा जुडिशियल प्रोसीडिंग से चलता है, हर राज्य में जाकर, हर क्षेत्र में जाकर ओपन हियरिंग देकर ट्रांसपेरेंट पद्धति से इसका नीति निर्धारण करता है, वो डिलिमिटेशन कमीशन से इसका निर्धारण हो।
So this is what we were talking about, Saba. So I just wanted to play that. Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
I have 2-3 thoughts about this. I entirely agree. I'm a bit curious that the government has chosen to stoke fault lines which are about the north-south issue about delimitation, linking up to something that creates a lot of panic in the south, a lot of misgivings in the south that we are high-performing states, we keep a check on population, and are we about to be punished because the BJP constituencies are precisely in the states which have the largest population. They've linked it to delimitation. They've also linked it to caste. Caste has come alive again. Caste is a complicated issue, but always inevitable, which runs through the Sanatan Dharma controversy right up to caste census, which the Congress has evaded Sanatan Dharma, and they're talking about caste census, right? TMC does not want to talk about caste census because Bengal has a different reality. It's intriguing to me. So in my view, if you really want to know what I think, Barkha, I think the narrative was going away out of the control of the Prime Minister right up to the last session, which ended when Manipur was discussed or whatever. Then the Chandrayaan landing took place on August 23. Since then, after that came G20, after that came his birthday. And by that time, a special session was announced. Everybody was kept utterly confused about it. I think it's snatching the narrative back and doing big bang things, because the data is showing not just the televised data, even the personal data being done by opposition MPs, where they are in contest with the BJP, is showing him a little popular than his party. So if you have decided to keep Modi on celluloid all the time, then you need events.
But
You know,
to
it
to
is a
be
big
fair,
job.
to be dispassionate, I would say he's had a series of those narrative wins, as you mentioned,
Yes.
from Chandrayaan to, I mean,
Chandrayaan, August 23, it starts, Barkha. The narrative starts.
and I'm saying, even though Canada looks like a crisis, it actually goes in his favor, because a lot of Indians are very angry, irrespective of which side you vote, on what Trudeau is up to. So it's been a series of reinforcements for him politically.
So those are my thoughts on it. I'm a bit baffled. And like a veteran, such an experienced journalist like Neerja would have seen the women's reservation, all the complicated nitty-gritties she would have applied. But I'm baffled that why have you brought in, if you were to think in a traditional way, that why have you brought in this delimitation issue now, when all your southern, for the south, it's an issue, you know, and caste is always an issue. So all of these are intriguing things to me. So it's just the Modi show. I think it's just that,
Well, the Modi show is working for Modi so far.
Yes,
as
it
we
is. It is. I'm not doubting that.
Yeah. Electorally,
He's got a new backdrop. Even that ceremony. Okay, let's say this comes special session. Everyone is kept suspended. It's like a suspense thriller. Kya hoga? I mean, seriously. And then they all walk. And then, the cameras are non-stop. Saba Naqvi is watching TV for so long. We're all doing one speech one day before last Parliament. 3 speeches, man, in 2 days. Come on. We haven't taken the eyeballs.
No, I think that's an excellent point. But let's go deeper into the politics, Neerja. One aim could have been narrative, that you kick the ball down the road because it's complicated, as you mentioned, but you take the credit for passing the bill. But the second could also be to create a degree of confusion within the opposition ranks because of this quota debate. Because please note that the Congress, at least rhetorically, stood up for a quota within the quota, Sonia Gandhi herself. And Sonia Gandhi herself, in an interview to me after the passage of the Rajya Sabha bill, when I asked her about OBC and Muslim quota, she said, parties who want to give can give. No one is stopping them. So there is some political shifting going on there as well. That's why both her and Rahul asked for a caste census. Neerja.
On the one hand, if the intention was to create a division in the opposition ranks, which is all right. On the other hand, are you taking the risk of promising something to women and then not quite coming up to scratch? I was saying, it's like saying we will open Jan Dhan accounts, but in 2029. We will give you gas cylinders at a subsidized rate, but in 2029. Now, you may be enthused, but are you going to give your vote on that basis? So it is a huge risk to take. To enthuse women that this is down the line, but not to do it.
But let's put it like this: at worst, it will have no impact. At best, it will have some positive impact. It can't hurt them.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that.
It can't hurt the BJP.
But some people say it might be, I don't buy this, that it could be counterproductive. I don't personally buy that at all. But what bothers me is, the way the Home Minister spoke, that we are not doing this for politics. This is for the women. Now, not to determine a timeline. You say there is just simply no timeline. If the delimitation exercise goes on and becomes very complicated, Barkha, because what we are expecting, as you know and I know, is an increase in the number of seats represented by the North Indian states. And there may be a decrease in the number of seats represented by South India. Now, if that happens, we will be into a whole lot of controversies when the delimitation exercise is undertaken. in the midst of it will be the women's issue, the women's reservation issue. So if they said by 2029 it will be done, or by 2034 it will be done, it's still okay. At the moment, you're kicking the can really down the line. I don't know for how long. And women are going to wonder, are we only going to, from in the last 2 days, I feel a sense of real disappointment, if I'm to be honest. How long are you going to say it's a promise we are going to deliver? Some time in the future.
And let me be cynical, like Saba often says she is, and argue that maybe it suits everybody. Maybe no political party actually wants to deal with the consequences of what this might mean internally. Without adding seats to parliament, it means you're asking 1/3 of constituencies that were fought either by men or women now to be fought only by women. Saba, maybe this moment suits everybody. Maybe everybody has decided to participate in this zero sum game.
So, Barkha, did you notice the ceremony in the outgoing parliament, in the old parliament that we all know, the farewell ceremony? So there was Prime Minister Modi, there was Adhi Ranjan and Mallikarjun Kharge. There was not a single woman on that.
They were all Menaka Gandhi spoke.
They didn't call the president who was a woman. So it was very odd. And then they got Menaka Gandhi, suddenly out of the blues, she came and made a speech, even though there has been, she and her son were supposed to not be getting the tickets, but maybe she will. I don't know about the son, Varun. But anyway, that's not the point. So that's just but the point is, I was looking at it and I was so angry. We all must have had those moments in our lives. Yeah. I've had it. When I've sat in a news meeting, everybody's been male. Many of them have been paid more than me if I'm doing more work. So I had one of those moments, where I looked at all these men up there and I said, my God, they're going to talk about women right now, I really did. I was so.
Yeah. Even on the first day, I noticed that hardly any women spoke. I think only men spoke when they first spoke about it before the debate. But I was just looking at the data. When the Manmohan Singh cabinet had 10 women ministers, the Modi cabinet has 11. Things are changing, but at a snail's pace. And yes, absolutely, that image of the men on the stage, all men, was something. But equally today, the Rajya Sabha had a powerful moment. It had 7 women. 7 different women in the chair. The vice president basically inaugurated the proceeding. There it is. If you just take the banner off, this was quite a moment. So it hasn't been without its share of symbolic moments, some of the speeches, some of these powerful moments. But the real politics, and let me ask you, both of you, in the end, to talk about delimitation, because now we can't talk about women's quota without talking about delimitation. Kani Mori, when she got up to speak, she said this is like a sword hanging over the South. Saba, what's your instinct? Are you convinced, like Neerja, that parliament seats are going to be added because that's the only way to contain the fallout?
I have no idea what kind of formulation they'll come up with, and anyone who does, is going to, only somebody who's an expert on the legal aspects of this bill can hazard a guess. And I suspect Neerja would be more so than me. But I will say one thing, because I was in South India. I was in a state in South India, and I did meet somebody who's part of a ruling establishment just now in September. I left in the middle of the G20, caught a flight, and went, So at that time, when I did happen to meet them, they said that is going to kick off an entire different block. It is a balkanization moment. And I will not name them, because these are things which are said off the record. It will be a balkanization moment for us, So, but so those are very, very serious, because there is an issue. The southern states have kept population down, and they are performing, and they're giving money to the financial pool. But the northern states are, so it's not, but you also have the point of principle of population, universal mandate. So it's a very complicated, naughty thing. That's why I'm surprised that they have linked something like this, which could be to something which can create so many resentments. Yeah.
But Neerja, a last word from you. Actually, when I think of everything that both you and Saba are saying, I in a way understand why they need time, why anyone needs time. Because if you're going to add seats to parliament, it really does complicate the delimitation exercise. If you say you're not going to do women's quota without adding seats, then you do need to link it to delimitation. How can you do it then?
That's right. I think overall, There have been in the last 27 years several formula, Barkha. Double member constituencies was one formula. Adding seats was another formula. Uh, Allowing for quota by political parties was yet another formula. So I think what was needed, and this government has the oomph to do it. They could have put it through.
Yeah.
What they needed was to go into it, 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the options. What do we add to it? And it could have been done very quickly because a lot of homework was anyway done over the years.
Yeah.
So why they didn't do that, or are there things up their sleeve that we still don't know? We have no idea about whether they will add additional seats or whatever. One word I want to say about the OBC factor, Barkha, which is being raised by the opposition and earlier by Sharad Yadav and the OBC parties. How do you add OBCs? How do you allow for a quota within a quota for the OBCs? SC, STs have a representation in parliament and legislative assemblies. You will give 1/3 of that quota to them, to women amongst them. OBCs don't have a quota in parliament or assemblies. They have quotas in government jobs and in educational institutions. So if out of that 1/3 quota for women, you give, say, will you give half for OBC women? 52% were, of course, OBCs in the 1931 census. They believe the numbers have increased. But suppose you say you give 27%, say 1/4 you allow. Will not the male OBCs tomorrow say, we want a quota in parliament?
Yeah.
Are you going to open a Pandora's box about who will get representation?
I don't see this quota within a quota happening, and eventually
So
the bill has passed
the
without
opposition raising it. If it's
maybe
not a doable thing,
I am really
where is
confused.
the homework?
Sonia Gandhi changed her position on this, entirely changed her
That's
position.
right.
Saba, you wanted to respond to that?
I just want to say that I think they're changing it for the census issue. I don't think the Congress is the last party that, the OBC quota, just to add to what Neerja is saying, and she's entirely right, because the OBCs are in any case getting represented in large numbers, at the time when the constitution was created. I'm not saying I'm for or against, but they do. It's very unlikely that Brahmins will start standing up from seats. Highly unlikely in India. They will not, it will not happen. You remember that time, all of us may remember, but I remember that Parkati Sarwale Mahila when Sharad Yadav said it.
We're all the same vintage with varying degrees of short hair. So of course we remember.
So you remember all that. So all that sort of rubbish, but actually OBCs are assertive in Indian politics right now. Even the left only was led by Brahmins as an OBC chief minister in Kerala. So things have changed. Okay, let's understand that. But Neerja has and I think they're doing it because of the caste census. And because the government is not ready to share any data. And the reason they're not ready to share any data is actually as much to do with caste as to do with the fear that it might show a decline in the birth rate of the Muslim population. I've got this from the top data people in India,
Okay.
So
all right. Let me give
know that.
We have no idea. We're all guessing as usual with the Modi government. We're all guessing and applying our best political instincts, which have often been wrong in the last 9 years. Neerja, let me give you the last word. In terms of the political impact, you've already said we don't know. We also don't know if they're going to go this way of adding seats, but I think it's most likely to contain heartburn within parties, and I have a feeling nobody will oppose them on this because every party will have the same challenge.
That shows the journey we've made in the last 27 years, that no party today is able to oppose it. I would say OBCs are going to be the flavor of the season in 2024. It's going to be a big factor, both sides. Both sides are going to play that card. The politics of it is moving in that direction.
Interesting times ahead. We leave it there. The Rajya Sabha will be voting this evening, but tomorrow morning, this bill will be sent to the president for her signature. No matter which way you look at it, it is historic. But yes, when will it actually be reality? We don't know the answer to that. So a bit of euphoria and a bit of a reality check, all mixed up in this moment. Thank you, Neerja, Chowdhury and Saba, Naqvi, and to our audience, thank you for watching. See you soon.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.